Okay. All right. We were asked to choose a book to read a very short passage from, and it was to be a book that we chose for some reason. There was an already prepared list. In looking over them, I decided to go with a book that I know you all read when you were young girls, called Little Women. Even though some of us aren't so little anymore, I believe that the passage that I'm going to read reflects very much the philosophy of most quilters and indeed most women that I know. So, and while we all, when we read Little Women way back when, always related specifically to one of the four sisters, I think in this case you will be able to find something to relate to almost all of them. I'm going to read chapter 2. In chapter 1, the announcement is made by the mother of the four girls, March, that they won't be doing Christmas this year because their father is off in the Civil War as a chaplain, and she just feels that there's so much need in the world that for them to have frivolous Christmas gifts would be a shame. So there's a big discussion about this in chapter 1. But they secretly decide to each prepare something for their mother as a gift to her. So I'm going to just very briefly, and I'm not going to read for more than 6 minutes, I'm going to read the chapter that starts on Christmas morning. Joe was the first to wake in the gray dawn of Christmas morning. No stockings hung at the fireplace, and for a moment she felt as much disappointment as she did long ago when her little sock fell down because it was so crammed with goodies. Then she remembered her mother's promise, and slipping her hand under her pillow, she drew out a little crimson-colored covered book. She knew it very well, for it was that beautiful old story of the best life ever lived. And Joe felt that it was a true guidebook for any pilgrim going on the long journey of life. She woke Meg with a "Merry Christmas" and bade her see what was under her pillow. A green-covered book appeared with the same picture inside and a few words written by their mother, which made their one present very precious in their eyes. Presently, Beth and Amy woke to rummage and find their little books, one dove-colored and the other blue, and all sat looking at them and talking about them as the east grew rosy with the oncoming day. In spite of her small vanities, Margaret had a pious nature, which unconsciously influenced her sisters, especially Jo, who loved her very tenderly and obeyed her because her advice was so gently given. "Girls," said Meg, seriously looking from the tumbled head beside her to the two night-capped ones in the room beyond, "Mother wants us to read and love and mind these books, and we must begin at once. We used to be faithful about it, but since Father went away and all this war trouble unsettled us, we have neglected many things. You can do as you please, but I shall keep my book on the table here and read a little every morning as soon as I wake, for I know it will do one good and help me through the day." Then she opened her new book and began to read. Jo put her arm around her and leaning cheek to cheek, and also with the quiet expression so seldom seen on her restless face. "How good Meg is. Come, Amy, let's do as they do. I'll help you with the hard words, and they'll explain things if we don't understand," whispered Beth, very much impressed by the pretty books and her sister's example. "I'm glad mine is blue," said Amy, and then the rooms were very still while the pages were softly turned and the winter sunshine crept in to touch the bright heads and serious faces with a Christmas greeting. "Where is Mother?" asked Meg, as she and Jo ran down to thank her for their gifts a half an hour later. "Goodness only knows. Some poor creeter come a-begging, and your ma went straight off to see what was needed. There never was such a woman for giving away victuals and drink, clothes and firing," replied Hannah, who had lived with the family since Meg was born and was considered by them to be more of a friend than a servant. "She will be back soon, I think, so fry your cake and have everything ready," said Meg, looking over the presents, which were collected in a basket and kept under the sofa, ready to be produced at the proper time. "How nice my handkerchiefs look, don't they? Hannah washed and ironed them for me, and I marked them all myself," said Beth, looking proudly at the somewhat uneven letters which had cost her such labor. "Bless the child, she's gone and put Mother on them instead of M. March. How funny. Isn't it all right? I thought it was better because Meg's initials are also MM, and I don't want anyone to use them but Marmee," said Beth, looking troubled. "It's all right, dear, and a very pretty idea. So no one can ever mistake them now." "Here's Mother. Hide the basket quick," said Joe, as the door slammed. But it was Amy who came in, looking rather abashed when she saw her sisters waiting for her. "Where have you been and what are you hiding behind you? Don't laugh at me, I didn't mean. I went to change the little bottle for a big one. I gave all the money to get it, and I'm truly trying to not be selfish anymore." This was about a bottle of cologne she bought for her mother. As she spoke, Amy showed the handsome flask, which replaced the cheap one, and looked so earnest and humble in her effort to forget herself that Meg hugged her on the spot. Joe pronounced her a trump, while Beth ran to the window and picked her finest rose to ornament it. "You see, I felt ashamed of my present. I felt selfish. I ran round the corner and changed it." Another bang of the street door sent the basket under the sofa and the girls to the table, eager for breakfast. "Merry Christmas, Marmee. Many more. Thank you for our books. We read some and we mean to every day." "Merry Christmas, little daughters. I'm glad you began at once and I hope you will keep on, but I want to say one word before we sit down. Not far away from here lies a poor woman with a little newborn baby. 6 children are huddled into one bed to keep from freezing, for they have no fire. There is nothing to eat over there, and the oldest boy came to tell me they were suffering hunger and cold. My girls, will you give them your breakfast as a Christmas present?" They were all unusually hungry, having waited nearly an hour, and for a minute no one spoke. But only a minute, for Joe exclaimed impetuously, "I'm so glad you came before we began." "May I go and help carry the things for the poor little children?" said Beth eagerly. "I shall take the cream and the muffins," added Amy heroically, giving up the articles she most liked. Meg was already covering the buckwheats and pulling the bread onto a big plate. "I thought you'd do it," said Mrs. March, smiling as if satisfied. "You shall all go and help me. When we come back, we will have bread and milk for breakfast and make it up at dinner time." They were soon ready, and the procession set out. Fortunately, it was still early, and they took the back streets, so few saw them, and no one laughed at the queer-looking party. A poor, bare, miserable room it was, with broken windows, no fire, ragged bedclothes, a sick mother, wailing baby, and a group of pale, hungry children huddled under one old quilt, trying to keep warm. How the big eyes stared and the blue lips smiled as the girls went in. "Ah, my God, it's good angels come to us," said the poor woman, crying for joy. "Funny angels in hoods and mittens," said Joe, and set them laughing. In a few minutes, it really did seem as if kind spirits had been at work there. Hannah, who had carried wood, made a fire, stopped up the broken panes with old hats and her own cloak. Mrs. March gave the mother tea and gruel, comforted her with promises of help, while she dressed the little baby as tenderly as if it had been her own. The girls, meantime, spread the table, set the children round the fire, and fed them like so many hungry birds, laughing, talking, and trying to understand the funny, broken English. "That is good," cried the poor things as they ate and warmed their purple hands at the comfortable blaze. The girls had never been called angel children before and thought it very agreeable, especially Joe. That was a very happy breakfast, though they didn't get any of it. And when they went away, leaving comfort behind, I think there were not all in all the city for a merrier people than the hungry little girls who gave away their breakfasts and contented themselves with bread and milk on Christmas morning. Doesn't that just remind you of some of us? That's it. Thank you for listening.
And that was just on about a week ago. The movie was just on about a week ago.
I know.
All right, let's